Hey, this is Capellan. Before we get started, just a couple of quick things. If you've seen my previous runs of this game, and judging by the hit counts on those videos, you probably haven't. But if you have, this run's going to seem pretty familiar, and that's kind of by design. My plan with these videos is to slowly iterate both on my ability to present and and the strats that I use, and hopefully eventually I get it to a point where I'm reasonably satisfied with it. I'm probably never going to go to a GDQ with this game, but a man can dream. Second, if you look in the top right hand corner, you'll see that I've finally learned how to configure OBS and live split, and not only that, I've actually implemented a live splitter for this game. So hopefully that doesn't bug out in an embarrassing way during this run, but there's a decent chance it will. So, I'll get to look pretty stupid on camera. Anyway, without further ado, this is The Disappearing of Gensokyo. Category is New Game, any percent, Easy Mode, no DLC. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go! So this is The Disappearing of Gensokyo. It's a fan game based on the Toho Project, a series of Japanese bullet hell shooters starring a cast of girls in frilly dresses and funny hats. Whereas those games are a series of vertically scrolling 2D bullet hell shooters that I'm absolutely no good at, this Chinese fan game is a twin-stick shooter ARPG hybrid that I'm still not much good at, but I pretend to speedrun it in my spare time. So this is the tutorial stage. We can't skip it, but it is like most stages in that our goal is to get to the end as quickly as possible. Well, rather, our goal in every stage is to get to the end, and because this is a speed run, we want to do that as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, we can't run straight to the end. There are barriers like this in the way. Typically, the way we get rid of those barriers is by killing a certain set of enemies, usually either all the enemies in the room or all the most powerful enemies in the room. So, especially these early stages, you'll be seeing a lot of me running into a room, killing everything in it, and leaving as quickly as possible. Shouts out to Minecraft TNT. Note that the barriers are represented by a particle effect, which takes a little while to fade in and fade out, so you'll be seeing a lot of things like this, where I run through a barrier that looks like it's there. It's not. The particle effect just hasn't faded out yet. This game has a two-character party. Both characters share shield, the blue bar at the bottom of the screen, stamina, the yellow bar at the bottom of the screen that powers the dash move I've already been using, and bomb count, which is the green B pickups here. We'll only really be using two characters throughout this run. The first is Tenchi, the character I'm playing as right now. Her primary attack is a Fire Blast, her secondary attack is a Sword Strike, and it's not much good, so I won't use it a whole lot. And her bomb, and again, bomb's driven by the green pickups in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, drops a rock which stuns enemies, then explodes to deal another hit of damage. Tenchi isn't really the greatest character in this game, but we have to start every stage with her, and she's a little better at doing hit and runs than the other character we'll be using this run. So, good news. If you like Tenchi, you'll be seeing a lot of Tenchi. An unfortunate fact about this game, though, is a lot of fights are auto-scrollers. This one has a timer in the top right-hand corner to show you just how little influence you have over it. Enemies spawn in on a schedule, so clearing them isn't really going to save you any time, because the next wave spawns in on a timer. So anyway, like I said, good news Tenchi fans, you'll be seeing a lot of Tenchi, and not just a lot of Tenchi, you'll be seeing a lot of Tenshis. And we're back down to one again. So I'll explain why I just murdered my doppelganger whenever I get around to explaining this game's story, and I'm not going to get around to that for a long time. All you need to understand is that when I have a problem, I'll be using bombs to make it go away, and I'll probably be using Tenchi's bomb because it's really effective on anything that's not a boss. More on that later. So, we're coming up on the hub world where we have to go after every mission, but I'm not going to do anything in the hub world. I'm just going to pause and hit restart. That does two things for me. First off, that sends me to the next level without having to do any slow menuing. But second, and more importantly, it's thanks to an uninitialized bit of memory, I can use any character I want, even if I haven't unlocked or paid for them. So, say hello to Marisa Kurosame, the Ordinary Magician. We're not supposed to have her until after Stage 5, and we're supposed to buy her with the blue points pickups that I've been picking up. A little more on that later. But, getting things for free with magic, and, glitches are basically magic. This is what Marisa's all about. I'm sure she'd be fine with it. Marisa's primary attack, as you've probably seen, is a laser. Her secondary attack juices up the laser to make it even crazier laser, and her bomb's a boss-killing nightmare. But on top of that, She's also slightly faster than Tenshi and has a better dash, so we'll be doing a lot of movement with Marisa. So let's talk about Marisa's bomb. When Marisa's bomb lands, it explodes to deal a hit of damage and knockback, though boss-type enemies like Shirano here aren't actually affected by knockback. What it then does is leaves around a glowing area of effect that does chip damage to anything that stands in it. And you can stack this, and each stack will do independent damage. And because nothing in this game really has iframes, neither you nor the bosses, you can just stack a ton of bombs on bosses and it kills them really quickly. And we're going to be using that to kill pretty much every boss in this game in a kind of embarrassing amount of time. The unfortunate downside to Marisa, despite all of the things that I just said which make her undisputably best girl, at least for speedrunning. Alice is best. But anyway, is that her laser ability is, in fact, a channeled ability. If you get hit by anything which stuns, and basically everything in this game stuns, you stop using it and you had to charge it back up again. So between this and the fact that you had to charge it in the first place, Marisa is pretty bad at hit and runs, so we're going to be using Tenshi a lot to deal with just enemies that we find lying around. Still, that aside, the good news about Marisa is not only is she faster than Tenshi, she's going to get way faster than Tenshi. Marisa, this game actually has two completely separate upgrade systems. We're going to be completely ignoring one, but the other is driven by the blue points pickups that, like I said, I've already been picking up. To be on pace with the route, I need to have 800 by the end of the 8th stage, and that's going to allow me to buy a speed upgrade for Marisa that makes her even faster. Again, hit the hub world, instantly hit restart. Also, when I'm talking about Marisa's bomb, there's some obvious anti-synergy between something which, it has knockback, and that knocks enemies out of the AoE that does all of its damage. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's only useful on bosses, because bosses are immune to knockback, like I said. That was a little awkward. So here we have to escort Kogasa all the way back to the start of the level. Fortunately, Kogasa doesn't really care about whether there are enemies in front of her. She only really cares about our position. So the fastest way to do this is to just barrel right for the entrance and throw out bombs so that not only can enemies not pick off Kogasa, but also Kogasa won't try to stop and attack them, which is slow. I'm going to be taking a couple of brief delays here to toss out bombs and clear waves. Like I said, I need to hit that important 800 by 8 mark. Also, I'm getting some serious lag here. So all drops in this game are random. Enemies can at any point drop some combination of the green beat pickups, which are bombs, red ammo pickups, which don't matter, and blue points pickups. Oh yeah, also say hi to Tenshi and say bye to Tenshi. And there's a barrier earlier in the stage that I can't unlock by killing a certain set of enemies. I had to pick up this magic item. But the magic item attracts a horde of enemies anyway, so, it's basically the exact same thing. Anyway, like I said, basically all drops in this game are random, but we kill enough enemies along the route and pick up a couple points items, so we should have 800 by 8 with no problem and without much need to farm. So you might have just seen Suika there, and if I mispronounce any Japanese names, I'm sorry. I'm painfully white. And she is going to be our next boss. Every fourth stage in this game is a boss stage. And I'll talk a little bit about boss mechanics right now. They're not super relevant for this upcoming fight, but they are relevant later, so if I say them now, that gives you a little time to chew on them and think about them. So the way bosses work in this game is that they throw out a wave of attacks, which is usually either a bunch of melee attacks or a bunch of bullets, being based off a bullet hell game. And only after they've taken a certain amount, only after they're done with that wave do they actually check their health. If their health is below a certain threshold value, they move on to another phase. If their health is not below that threshold value, they keep doing their thing. But that's important because they only check after. Look at the little sweep. They only check after they're done with that wave. And because bosses tend to have at least one phase where they stand still, and because, again, Maris's bomb can be stacked to do a ton of DPS, we're basically going to manipulate bosses into doing an attack where they stand still, throwing out a bunch of bombs at them. All the boss fights in this game, if I do them right, are going to take like less than 30 seconds. Again, hub world, instantly hit restart. We're coming up on stage 5, and stage 5 kind of sucks. So the problem with stage 5 is it's both an escort mission and an auto-scroller. You have to escort a fairy who moves excruciatingly slow. And 35% of the time... Oh, also this is the stage where we get Marisa, so now we got 2 Marisas. So this fairy picks one of 2 different routes. And I think I got the slow route. Yep, I got the slow route. So the way it's like a 65% chance she takes the fast route and a 35% chance she takes the slow route. The slow route's about 10 seconds slower. It's kind of sucks, but it's not too big of a time loss. I'm going to lose more time on dumber things. If we did get the fast route, I would have detoured over here to kill some enemies to farm up some more blue points items, and gone on a little digression about why we're not picking up these magic pieces which form the second upgrade system. And basically the reason why is because you have to get in a bunch of optional fights that we can't afford to get into. And even if we did, there's nothing that really makes the game much faster until like we pick up way too many for it to be possible in this category. Let's talk a little bit about game balance, or lack thereof. If you're looking at the radar, you may notice that I cleared out a ton of enemies before they even really got on screen. Marisa's laser has an effective range of pretty much the entire screen, whereas Tenshi's is like a couple meters, maybe. Additionally, if you look at the ammo counts in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you may notice that Marisa's ammo is 999, and you spawn in with every stage with full ammo. And Marisa's ammo goes down really slowly. So you can in theory, basically use your laser permanently in a stage. There's a horde of enemies here. I'm going to be moving backwards. You didn't see her, but there was another Tenshi there, and I killed her before she even showed up. I kill her off screen because if I don't and she gets too close, it starts a dialogue that I have to mash through, and I lose a couple seconds when this stage is already long enough. Anyway, we've cleared out all the enemies that have any risk of killing our escortee, so I'm just going to sit by this barrier. This barrier will drop when the fairy maid gets to the place she wants to be, and here we are. Can't leave just yet though. Here's Alice, who we need to kill before we can leave. Fortunately, we have bombs, so I will spam those, and then I will dart to the end. 227 is, I guess, okay for the slow route. Again, there's not much I can do to speed this up. About 2 minutes and 10 to 2 minutes 15 seconds of that stage is just the fairy's movement. You can only speed it up by getting to her really quickly at the very start and leaving the stage quickly at the very end. So the second desert stage is a search and destroy mission. There are 4 juiced up fairies that I have to deal with, and they've got patrol patterns. So I've got a route that basically allows me to dart between them as quickly as possible and catch them at advantageous points in their patrol cycle. Though really there's only one that can slow you down by being in the wrong place, and that's the second one I'll be killing, and it's factored into the route. Again, I will be doing a lot of movement with Marisa, and I'm going to be doing a lot of the actual killing with Tenshi because her bomb is more effective at dealing with non-boss enemies. I'm going to go here. Note that my points just jumped from 2 to 52. That's because there's a big points pickup hidden behind there. By picking that up, I can avoid some farming that I would otherwise have to do. Here's another juiced up fairy. There's a ton of crap there that I don't want to get involved with, so I'm just going to leave. So you may notice that without the speed upgrade, Marisa is already effectively faster than the enemies will ever catch up with. Even the melee enemies that need to get close to you to attack you. So this is without the speed upgrade, so it's only going to get sillier from here. Anyway, that's our last fairy, so I'm going to toss out a few bombs to clear out the enemies that would otherwise stand in my way. And now that that's done, I am going to get moving. So there are a ton of enemies behind me, but it doesn't matter because I'm out of here. 114's alright. I've done better, but I've also done worse. Now, I'm going to look in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen to view my current points count. I haven't really been keeping track, which is a bad habit to have, but I want to know whether I'm going to need to slow down and farm. The boss at the 8th stage will give me 40 blue points items, so that's going to determine how many I need to get in this next stage. I didn't see it. Whatever, we're winging it, we're doing it live. I'll just farm a couple things for safety. This next stage, like I said, is your last real chance to farm, and that's okay because you can get like 200 points items on this stage without really trying. More if you take a little time to farm, and we'll detour a little. Kill a few more enemies, show off a little, flex a bit. Anyway, this is the human village. Say hi to Okyu, because you're not going to see her again. Or, well, not really. So this introduces a new enemy, the Skull Cannon. I had to kill this one down here before I can leave. Unfortunately, my bomb screwed up, so I'm losing a couple seconds here. So Skull Cannons may look scary and they take a ton of punishment, but they're pretty vulnerable to bombs, so we're just going to use bombs. So a thing about pickups in this game is that you can only pick them up when after they actually land. So to pick things up, you actually have to wait a second for them to land, which triggers the auto pickup. And then you can actually get going. So that's the problem with doing drive-bys in this game. Crud. I'm losing time because I wasn't using Marisa because I was distracted, and yeah. So I lost some time there because I wasn't using Marisa because I wasn't really thinking. Anyway, it doesn't matter because we're at the end of the stage, and we're at the central stage of the festival. This is another auto-scroller. If you look in the top right-hand corner, you will see a certain amount of time that I have left, and again, I can't speed that up. These enemies are going to spawn in on a schedule, and the next wave is going to come in whether I have cleared the enemies before it or not. So I just gotta, play it out, kill some enemies, farm some points, all that good stuff. Let's see, what else do I want to say? Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say at the moment. I want to pay some attention because even though this game is pretty easy on easy, it is possible to get overwhelmed if you don't pay attention. And I've got a bad habit of not paying attention and losing runs. Anyway, after all those enemies came in, Kokoro was here to save us. She is going to be our next boss, in fact. So let's go back to boss mechanics for a little bit, because I started explaining those, and I don't know if I did all that great of a job. But again, bosses will only change phase after they're done a certain volley of attacks. So in Kokoro's case, her very first attack pattern involves her standing still. It's actually possible to do enough damage before she starts her first attack pattern that you skip it entirely and go to another attack pattern. In fact, in Suika's fight, we actually skipped a couple of her attack patterns because we did so much damage. But here, this is not advantageous. If you do too much damage to her too early, you skip the first phase and go into a much slower second phase. So what we're going to do is at the very start, we're going to hold off for just a moment before we start our bomb spam. But again, we're now in Melancholy Mask, the Man of Key, and she just stands there and takes a ton of punishment, and now she's dead. This game has a camera control, but it makes the game actually unplayable, so I'll only be using it for stunting. And 25 seconds. So this time when I hit the hub world, I am not in fact going to restart. What I am going to do instead is go on a shopping spree. If I don't have 800 points items, this run is over. And I should have been paying attention. But I think I've got 800. I hope I've got 800. I got 800, let's go. So, first things first, like I said, we've been using Marisa without paying for her, so now we are going to actually buy Marisa. If you mash through that too quickly, you can actually double buy characters and lose all your money. I lost a run like that time. And now we're going over to Kogaso. We are going to buy the speed upgrade, we confirm, and now we hit restart and we should be on to the next stage. So this next stage is one of the largest stages in the game and one of the longest, just because you have to traverse so much of this level and because there's another big old fight, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So this stage already, the speed upgrade from Marisa is going to pay for itself because again, this stage is huge, so any amount of speed upgrade is going to make this way faster. Like just having the speed upgrade saves you like 15 or 20 seconds over not having it. And that's this stage alone. It's, you know, it's required. You can sometimes buffer inputs to switch character before it... Shit. Well, I screwed that up. Oh well. Because I usually do a thing about how you move you now move faster than enemies spawn in, but I mashed keys like a moron, so we don't get to do that. Sorry. Anyway, we had to kill 4 werewolves here. Again, we're going to be using Tenchi for actual damage dealing because she is way better at doing drive-by damage than Miss I have to charge my laser Kirasame. So I am going to screw up. Be using Marisa for movement and Tenchi for actually dealing with these enemies. You may notice that I kind of stopped picking up blue points items. Why didn't you die? And that's because I'm not really going to be picking up any upgrades anymore. The second tier of Marisa's speed upgrade takes 1,400 points. And again, the speed upgrade itself for the first tier cost 400. There's just no way I'm going to be able to farm that up and actually save time, so I'm not going to bother. And there isn't really any other upgrade that would make this game significantly faster, so we're just going to ignore them. Now, while I get some time, I guess, let's talk a little bit about why I run this game. And I'll be honest, there's only one real reason why I own this game and why I run this game, and that's because my name is actually in the credits. So the way this game was localized was they farmed it out to a Discord group who did the translation from Chinese and the editing. I was part of that Discord group, though I didn't really contribute all that much to the actual translation process. Sorry guys, sorry guys, if any of you are watching, University was kicking my ass, and unfortunately University comes first. And yeah, so my main contribution is failing to get a reference to Mystery Science Theater 3000 in the dialogue, so, you know, my name kind of doesn't deserve to be there, but it's really funny to have your name in a game you speedrun, I think, so, you know, I'm doing it. Anyway, we just killed Sakuya, and yeah, now we are done with this level. We can leave and go on to better and brighter things. Note the collision around those trees is kind of weird. 2 minutes and 50 seconds is a pretty crap time for this stage. I've done it like way faster than that. Whatever, man. So the next stage is interesting because the way you're supposed to play it is that you go down the main path, you run into a bunch of overpowered enemies, and you get completely destroyed. And you find out what you were really supposed to do was instead take a detour path that goes around an island chain to avoid those overpowered enemies, then come back around. That's slow. We're not going to do that. See, the thing is, we have a character with a reliable stun that works on those overpowered enemies. So we're going to stun lock them, and we're going to barrel straight through. I'm going to be using Tenchi for this. You can technically do it with Marisa and save a single second, but it's way less reliable, and you're more likely to die and lose time. So I'm going to be using Tenchi. I'll be throwing out bombs to stun the enemies so they don't straight murder me. And this stage, if I do it right, is going to take less than 20 seconds. Probably about 17 or 18. So there's some enemies here. I don't care. That's dangerous. But I made it through. Go me. I'm the best at video games. 18 seconds. That's like 2 seconds slower than my usual time. Yeah, that was sloppy, but I don't care. I made it through. That's the fastest stage in the game. So the next stage is the Scarlet Devil Mansion, and this is a stage that's both challenging and rewarding to practice and speedrun, because this is the only real stage where you can save time by killing enemies quickly. When you kill the enemy, if you kill all the enemies in the room here, it spawns the next wave in right away. No waiting on a schedule. So if you kill things efficiently in this stage, you will actually save some time, and that's nice. For this stage, the rooms in this stage are actually large enough that the AI won't aggro on you. So for a lot of the rooms in this stage, I will be using Marisa just because her laser has the range that Tenchi's sword doesn't. Anyway, say hi to Alice, true best girl, but she's not much good in this game, so you won't be seeing her. Dealt with those. Not as efficiently as I could have, but whatever. So again, I'm going to kind of spin around to aggro all the enemies on me, and now I'm just going to drift over towards the door, because that's where I'm going to want to be in a little bit. Come on. Okay, good. I had to kill all the enemies in this hall before I can proceed to the next room. I'll be doing that with bombs. Surprise, surprise. Fortunately, although there are these shielder enemies, my bomb's pretty effective against them. And that should be everyone. I get stuck on the door because I'm bad at video games. Get bullied because I'm bad at video games. The objects in this room block both enemy bullets and your laser. So there's a really optimal pattern that I'm screwing up right now, where you basically have line of sight on an enemy at all times, but you can dodge back into cover to avoid their bullets. I screwed it up though because I'm bad at video games. Anyway, cleared all the enemies in this room. I can proceed. Note that I got a checkpoint. And I just got another checkpoint. I don't actually have to hurt anyone in this hallway to proceed, so I'm just gonna run right past them and slam the door in their face. There's a bunch of enemies here. Worth noting that you may see the enemies attacking each other. This game actually kind of has a faction system, but it's not really used in most levels. It's only relevant here because there are two different teams that you can bait into attacking each other. And I do my best to kill these zombies first because they take a while to get back up. So I can... no bombs, that kind of sucks. Whatever, I did it. And we're done with all this. Time to leave. Now time for the Remy boys, 1738. So let's talk about boss mechanics yet again, and Remelia, how this is going to play out. Because, again, I'm going to be using bomb spam. Surprise, surprise. But the thing is, I'm going to actually, similar to the Kokoro fight, slow down on my bomb spam for just a bit. The way, like the very first part of Remelia's first phase is she stands still and throws a spear at you. And the very first part of her second phase is she stands still and does some magic stuff. Now the problem is you can do so much damage to her in her first phase that she skips her second, and that results in a slow fight. So what we're going to do is toss out 2 bombs. We're going to wait it out a little. And now that that's over, we're going to throw the rest of our bombs and attack her as much as we can. And done. This fight actually stonewalled me for like a month when I first played this game. Now, mind you, that was a month of really intermittent play because, again, university. But, you know, it's pretty satisfying to just burn through it in 29 seconds. I've gotten better times than that, but I've also gotten worse times. So with all that done, Remelia, because we beat her up, Remelia is going to let us use her rocket. Now, you may wonder why we have a rocket, and that's because the plot of this game is that Reimu's gone missing, and we've decided to take it upon ourselves to go find her. And I forget why we think she's on the moon, but she does turn out to kind of be on the moon. So we're taking the rocket, and we're going to the moon. Problem is that it's not as easy as just taking the rocket, because you gotta defend the rocket from a bunch of things first. And let's talk about the things you're defending it from. So you may have noticed that most of the mobs in this game are guys with sacks over their heads. Those are called sin sacks, and they're kind of part of a gross 2chan meme that personifies the, like, kind of, I want to say creepy, but, you know, the elements of this fan base who are here because the game has cute girls, and there is a lot of fan art of this game and this game series, and a lot of it is not safe for work. Though the series itself is perfectly clean and wholesome, which is rare for self-published games in Japan. The thing about the Toho project is that it has a massive amount of fan engagement. This series has been running since 95 or 98, which means it's about as old as I am. And there is just a ton of fan engagement with it, mostly because the creator, Zune, has a really lax policy on fan works, which is very nice of him, because it means games like this, which is available for $15 on Steam, so, you know, if this seems like your jam, by all means, go ahead and pick it up. I've spent more money on games I've liked less. And so, basically, you have the setting of the Toho project in this game getting overrun by sin sacks, which are, again, a representation of kind of the undesirable parts of the fandom, and the phantoms, who are the versions of the characters that I killed a whole bunch of times there. And those are kind of representations of popular fanon characterizations of them, like the fanon characterizations, man, that's hard to say, of the characters in the game. Like the Shadow Alice that we saw is homicidally obsessed with Marisa, like a whole lot of people portrayed Alice back in the day. So, in theory, what this game's plot at least reads like to me is or what it should be, is a game that's about, you know, the boundary between canon and fanon, and, you know, what's the point when, you know, artist versus intent, or whatever, I don't know, penguins, just killed a bunch of them. The thing is, though, if the intended metaphor was to, you know, kind of riff off of the Toho Project's fandom, it doesn't really land. The metaphor is muddled in a ton of ways. Anyway, here we go. Now here's some fights that actually save me some time to take quickly. If I kill these bosses, it ends right after I do. And that's 2 down, and finally done. Now go back here. Not done yet. I have to get rid of Nue and her space friends. I screwed it up. Oh well. Come on, rocket. Good. To the moon, baby! Yeah, I didn't do a good job explaining that. I completely got derailed. I need to work on my ability to give commentary while I'm playing, obviously. But anyway, what you need to know about to summarize what I was trying to say, this game's plot could be interesting, but it's kind of bullshit. The translation for this game is very literal, so, don't blame anyone on the translation team, because they, again, most of this game is translated pretty accurately and faithfully. Again, I reiterate that they did not let me include a Mystery Science Theater 3000 reference in one of the upcoming dialogues. So, it's faithful. For better or for worse. Now, we're going to the moon, and the moon is covered in rabbits in Toho because, you see, whereas we Westerners see the man in the moon, in the East they see the rabbit in the moon. And so there are a lot of bunnies here. Also, the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey. But we're going to run right past it, among other things. Got to clear these enemies to get rid of the barrier. As you can see, a lot of rabbits in, like, schoolgirl uniforms, basically. Don't think about it too hard. There's some enemies here, but with some dialogue that's kind of funny, but I'm going to skip them. Instead, I'm going to go right here. There's a bunch of rabbits and flying saucers. I need to get rid of them to start the next wave. Okay, good. So I step out here, and that's going to start a wave of flying saucer rabbits that... There's a magic wall there that clears out based on a timer rather than enemies killed, so stepping out there, starts the wave and starts the timer. If I go out here, really all I can do is stand in the middle of nowhere and risk getting killed. But if I wait it out, then this barrier will drop any second now. Any second now. Good. And I can get here where I get ambushed by a bunch of rabbits, but I got the bombs. And apparently I can't hit things that are right in front of me. There's a bunch of enemies here, but I'm going to just ignore them. Instead, we're going right to the boss of this stage, Clownpiece, who stresses the American flag because patriotism. Oh yeah, I think in Toho, the 69 moon landing was actually an invasion of the moon, I guess by the US government. I need to brush up on that so that I can properly deliver this as part of the monologue, but, we dealt with the USA ferry, and... Oh yeah, there's also water on the moon, shouts out to NASA. In fact, there's a lot of water on the moon because the next stage is underwater. If you look at the dialogue at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see a couple of the characters arguing back and forth like, hey, if we're underwater, how can we breathe? And, this is the line where I tried to get them to say, if you repeat to yourself, it's just a show, I probably should relax from Mystery Science Theater 3000, because it's almost identical to what they said in the original script, but looks like the translation team didn't let me, so, I'm sorry guys. Not only was I completely useless, I was probably actually negatively useful, so my name doesn't deserve to be in the credits. This stage is pretty quick and a nice little breather. The way this stage works is that there's another of those fancy eye barriers at the end of the stage, and the MacGuffin only spawns in after a tough fight, and so we're going to run right towards the trigger that starts that tough fight, which I just hit, and now we're going to run to the end here. So those yellow F pickups are full power pickups. They give you full ammo, which isn't that important. The fact that I haven't said anything about ammo should be a clue about how not a big deal it is. But it also gives me full bombs, and given the number of times I've talked about bombs, you can see why that's probably important. This is one of the few areas where we'll be using Maris's bomb just to clear enemies, because this is an area where enemies can, basically be baited into walking right into it. Now I have to wait until that dialogue says to pick up the Iron Stone. If you pick it up before it tells you to pick it up, you soft lock and you have to do the stage over. but I'm not going to do that, not since the last time I did that. And now we're done with the moon underwater in 1 minute and 9 seconds, which I think is a little better than my PB. And you may have seen Junko. She will be our next boss. Now, Junko's fight is one that I'm probably going to screw up. I've practiced it a lot, but, bad at video games. The thing about Junko's fight is that if you don't kill her on the first cycle, you get locked in a survival phase that takes an extra 25 seconds. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to try to get the quick kill. If I get the quick kill, it'll take like 35 seconds, maybe 40. If I don't, it's going to be over a minute. But, fingers crossed. Part of it is that she has this annoying teleporting behavior, which makes her really hard to toss bombs at, and she moves too quickly here to get full use of Maris's bomb on her. Now, here's the part where she stands still, and she throws out a bunch of bullets that actually don't hit right in front of her, so I'll just... I think I'm getting the survival. Yeah. Now look at how little health she has. You know how frustrating that is? I can't do anything to her right now. She's in the air, and and because no one in this game can look up, I can't do anything to her. But yeah, now she's done. That probably took like 1 minute 10. Yeah, that was garbage. But if you thought that was garbage, oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. Because let's talk about the last stage, which is this upcoming stage. Oh, 57. I was surprised. I would have thought it was way longer than that. So this game takes a nosedive in the last stage, the likes of which haven't been seen since Half-Life 1. Now, this last stage, unlike the other stages which had interesting familiar locales from Toho, this takes place in like the negative space dimension. Everything's made of cubes. And there's an annoying bunch of teleporters, which are really fiddly to stand in. There's no room to dodge anywhere, and it's bad. So I'm going to attempt to barrel through this stage as quickly as possible. I've got a pattern of dashes that allow me to do so in a way that hopefully means I won't die. There's a decent chance, though, that I will die, and that's, effectively run ending. But, fingers crossed I won't die, and it's all going to work out just fine. I believe in me. Do you believe in me? You shouldn't. So there's a bunch of enemies here, but with some well-timed dodging, we can get away from them. Again, kind of before they spawn in. Oh no, I'm not... Okay, that's kind of scary. That's not a lot of health to have, but I can make this work. Suboptimal because I had to use a bomb, but using a bomb is faster than dying. So we're coming up to the fight against Reimu. We found her and she wants to beat us up because Toho. Now guess how we're going to deal with her. If you guess bombs, you're actually wrong this time. So we need to save our bombs for a reason that will become apparent in a little bit. For now, we can actually use Maris's laser pretty effectively on Reimu because Reimu's Afuda are some of the few projectiles in this game that don't stun, though on higher difficulties they just do so much damage that trying to tank them will kill you outright. Fortunately, we play on easy, so we can afford to take a few hits. Unfortunately... So let's talk about a problem with the way this game's boss fights work. In the Toho games, like the actual 2D bullet hell shooters, when you clear a boss's wave of attacks, all of their bullets go away. That doesn't happen in this game. Oh, and Reimu just flew up and exploded, because, look, sure. And now we get to pick our choice of boss, and I'm going to pick Reimu the White because she has a phase that's really easy to cheese with Marisa's bombs, though because I only have 4, I might not be able to get the quickest kill. Such is life. So I'm going to bait her over against the wall, because if she goes over against the wall, I can cause her to blow up a ton of projectiles on that wall instead of... No! Okay, well, that didn't work out as planned. What I'm supposed to do is bait her against the wall. All those bullets explode on the wall before they can hit you, and you survive. But I don't know what I did wrong. Something. Fortunately, checkpoints, so we've got to take 2. There, that's what's supposed to happen. So now she is going to go here, and I'm going to toss out a bunch of bombs. Done. Okay, that wasn't the quickest kill, but it was a pretty quick kill. So, that death aside, it wasn't the biggest loss, especially now that I've got an autosplitter that removes load times for me that hopefully will become the standard for this game. Anyway, yeah, we got rid of White Reimu, so now we got a particle effect. We don't have to wait out the 86 seconds. Thank the Hakure God for that. Hakure? Look, I can't pronounce Japanese. Anyway, time is not just yet. You see, the thing is, because we saved the day, because I think that's what just happened, they're throwing a party for us. But here's the thing, I don't really like parties, so I'm not going to go to the party. Instead, I'm going to leave, and time is on the end of the fade out. Yeah, see, look, I don't want to party with these Synsacks. I'm out of here. And that's time. So that was a not very good run of this game. Like I said, unfortunately, I'm kind of bad at video games, so... And I haven't really had a whole lot of time to practice. You know, left university, started the new job. That doesn't leave a whole lot of time. So, you know, this could have gone way worse than it did, so I'm pretty pleased. I clearly have a lot of practice to do if I want to get anywhere near close to the world record, which I'll never get. Or, you know, if I want to be pleased with this. I've got a lot of things that I can tighten up. A lot of times in there that I noticed that I wasn't using Marisa when I should have been, because it would have been way quicker. There's just a lot of things that I need to improve. But yeah, so if you thought this game looked interesting and, you know, want to actually play it instead of watching me kind of just break it over my knee, this is available for like 15 bucks on Steam, and I don't know. There are a lot of people I know who really, really hate this game for the way it indulges in bad aspects of the fandom from circa 2008. And I don't dispute that. This game does do that. It thinks it's making... I think the game is trying to make commentary on fandom culture circa 2008. But again, the metaphor is muddled in ways that just make it not work. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let the credits play out, and when I see my name, I'm gonna shout, "Oh, that's my name," and then I'm gonna instantly stop the recording. Oh yeah, there's my name.